Record. Okay, then we go to share. So we not spend that much time today, hopefully. So, so we're on chapter 4 now. Data analysis. I don't know whether my even a video will matter or not. I think it doesn't. No need to share the video. Okay, so good evening, everybody. So we are going to continue. Yeah, we're on chapter 4 now. So we'll be looking at data analysis. Okay. So we can all see the screen now. Yeah, so again, this chapter starts with the introduction. And as we have noted with the other chapters previously, I hope you can hear me because it's telling my internet is unstable. I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So like I said, as noted with the previous chapter,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is that so we I mean
Yes, ma'am.
refer to the preceding chapter
ma'am.
and project, and then we present what is in this particular chapter. So let's continue to remember to do that for all the chapters, so that we can kind of what do you call it now? Conjunct, so that we'll be connecting them together. Francis. Okay, so there should be kind of linking or connectives or whatever name you want to call them. But just like we have it in normal discourses, that you link, you have this link. So it's very important that we do that too here. So that's that. Then of course you remember in your chapter 2, we discuss outlining your what is it called now? Okay, so let me just talk about this one for data presentation. I don't know. People there's really no hard and fast rule about this. Some may present the paper and be doing the data and be analyzing. But what we have from the department is that you do data presentation, then you do data analysis. Now, what is tricky about this is this. If you are going to, like in education, they will have things like maybe tables that they have done and all of that. Then you are not supposed to discuss it or whatever. But it's I think this particular aspect with data analysis and data presentation, there are no hard and fast rule about it as far as our area is concerned. You have the text, if it's textual data, if it's something you download from the internet, or if it is something you took from maybe a literary text or whatever, you have the data presented. But if it is a discourse text that you want to present and then go on to do the analysis by applying your theoretical framework, maybe in that case it may be possible. Like I remember there's a paper I wrote that there's a chapter or an extract from the Bible that I actually wrote and I presented it. So that's one. I presented it, that section. I think that's the one I did with what was the name? What was the name of this South African journal? Scriptura. So because it was actually about 3 or 4 verses. So I presented it. Probably I think I tried to put in a frame. So it's can possible, and because that's what I'm saying, like something like doing multimodal this thing now, you may have about maybe 10 pictorial elements you want to present. So I don't know how you'll be asked to present all of them before you now start analyzing. And then the analysis also, of course, is involving the frame. Like I remember, maybe let me say, you can also have an extract and then you present if it is short. But let's now say that it is actually a very long text. Are you to present everything before you now start doing the applying the framework? So in that case, you may actually have it as an appendix, which is also, there's a paper that I think, I'm not going through with the original of that time. There's a paper also that we did. It's also about 15 verses. My agenda team is about 15 verses from the Bible that we looked at and we did a gender analysis on. As much as one had the extraction of those aspects and we presented them, but is the aspect we needed to talk about as sample for what we were to do. So what we just did that to do the text itself, even though it had been coded, color coded, which is actually how we identify the gender terms and the neutral terms and all of that, we were able to put it as appendix because it's also quite extensive. So that's why I'm saying that this data presentation, maybe for people in education, they may actually have things like that. And they will have the data first of all presented before they now start doing the analysis. But for somebody in language, that may be one kind, because if you just put the text there, then you now start looking for, then you now look for another section, you say you're going to be doing the analysis, you may actually get confused, because especially if you have different or many extracts. And you know, even in literary text, I hope you are hearing me, because this is going to notify me say the internet is unstable. So even in electronic text analysis, you have an extra there, you discuss it or you analyze it, explain it and tell us, they interpret it before you go on to something else. So now I'm saying this one is actually tricky, because I cannot say there's a hard and fast rule about it. So, but depending on your data, we're going to say that depending on your data, that will determine some of these things. So the kind of data you are using will determine this. Like if I have there's also a paper we recently wrote, and what we did was to write to actually do a video. I mean, to get a YouTube video. So it was transcribed, and then the data was now presented, but not the full presentation, because we just did that. We have the appendix of the link to the video on YouTube, but the aspect that were just important for the analysis. Sorry, please, where did you put head me up to? Where did you put head me up to?
You were talking about an analysis of a video data
Okay,
that you forgot.
okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means it was not too far. Okay, okay. So, okay, so like I was saying now, so we did the transcription, then we now did the analysis and all of that. But then because we could not use the whole, because we want to transcribe the whole of the video, some part of the video that are relevant to be transcribed. But the aspect that is the linguistic usage that was relevant to the analysis were, so maybe before it and after it, so we're able to get the data that we needed. And then we now went to put the link to the video itself into as appendix for anybody that wishes to go and look for the full video to look at. So these are also ways that you can look at it. And now I'm saying it's not a hard and fast rule, because depending on your data, if you have a very large text and you present the whole first, I don't know, that may look a bit awkward. So but if you put it in sections, and that why even thematic analysis may be actually useful. So the section that you are dealing with this, then you extract what's relevant there, or maybe a series of things that are relevant there. You do the analysis, then you move to something else. So that's why I'm saying that you just have to use your discretion in this way. You're following basically the guideline. Of course, this analysis is done. Now, this is the cross of your work, because this is what you tell us, your framework that you have presented to us, your research design, they come together here so that you can now do the analysis of the data you have. And then in that way, what you're doing is that you are interpreting that data. You are within the framework that you have chosen, whether it's theoretical or conceptual. And then you have outlined it, you have explained it to us, you have done the explication in your chapter 2, then you are now applying it now. Of course, by your chapter 3, you have told us how you want to apply it. So here you are now applying it, and we are looking at it at data. And that is why we're going to say that your data that will actually determine the kind of frame for your analysis. Because if you have something that you should be discussing and be interpreting in terms of the content, and then you are just doing what's it called now? You are doing a quantitative presentation. It may actually not speak well or give the details or the depth that you needed to actually go. Because if you are going to look at the depth, that one will require you will use fewer number of people or number of cases or whatever the case. Whereas if you are going to do quantitative, you may need to have an expanded base for you to be able to do serious analysis there. So, and this is just this. This is the cross of what you're going to do. Apply all that you have been saying. And that I'm going to tell you that all of these things are connected from beginning to the end. There is a connection. So you don't look as if one is an island and then it's different from this. No, they all lead to this. Then summary of findings and discussion. Now, my point also here is this, that again, this is what the department has given you, but I don't know if you have not you want to look at your findings, you want to do, I know at times people do the analysis and then discuss what they have found or what they are seeing in the process of interpreting they are discussing. Now, at the end, they may now give a summary of the findings, but I wouldn't know why the department is saying summary of findings and discussion. Now, if it is, again, maybe I would want to say, like I also am aware, people may finish this discussion then in chapter 5. After you are done the summary of the whole work as your first section of your chapter 5, after your introduction, the next section will be the summary of the work, and then they now give the summary of the findings that were made in the process of the analysis and the discussion of the results. So maybe that's actually what we should put this. I may draw the attention of the HOD. Maybe we should talk about the discussion of the result. That may be a better way to put this than to say summary of findings, because I wouldn't know how, if you are not discussed it, how your result for your this analysis, how you are going to summarize the findings. So maybe I'll draw attention to this. So at times is when you want to interrogate these things that you actually take note of some of these shortcomings. So maybe I will draw attention to it, and she may need to go back to the departmental board to look at this again. So because I just think that the summary of findings should come after you have done all that you have done. And then you're able to now pinpoint that concerning this particular question, this is what you have found. Concerning this particular objective, this is what you have found. And you'll be able to put them together in a short narrative that will be easy for somebody to see. So, and that's why I think at times some people move this to chapter 5, because it can then dovetail into the conclusion. It gives you a global view that's able to help you to arrive at your conclusion. But then we will see what the department says about it. But essentially, what is it about that? You discuss the results you find from the analysis, then you are now able from there to extract the findings based on what the literature is saying, based on your what's it called now? Based on your what is current in the field now, in tangent to your own analysis, and then you're able to say, okay, based on this now, the literature said this, but now this is what my own analysis have resulted in. So you're able to tell us, to carry us along and compare. Oh, okay, now you agree with this particular scholar that have said this. Oh, your result now is confirming what they have found. And then, however, you may say, oh, no, I don't agree with this, or your result now shows that there was maybe shortcoming in their methodology. And that's why I say your own procedure must actually be clear and easy to see and follow. So you cannot say, oh, there's a faulty methodological procedure, or there's a faulty analytical instrument that was used, or the data instrument collection of the instrument for collecting data was the one that was at fault. So at this point, you're able to now look at all of this, and these are the findings you find now. In comparison to what you set out to achieve, what is the statement problem, what is your objective, what was the purpose that you were carrying out this study, then what did you find in literature? Now, is this result confirming or disputing, or do you call what is it? Is it disputing it now, or dissenting from what was found previously by the previous scholar? So which can be at any level. The way that your statement of problem can be at any, the gap could be at any of the levels. So also this could be that at any level concerning when you compare to what you have done in your literature review. So it could be that, oh, at any of these points is where your finding is now showing you something that is different. But it has to be systematic because you have to follow the procedure based on the instrument, all that the processes that you are set out to achieve, and then be able to achieve it. So, and that is it. Of course, again, your summary takes us back to summary of the chapter as presented here and projection into the next chapter, just like we have done with the other summaries before. So you see that this chapter 4 have, even though the subheadings are quite few, but then the major part of the work is done here. Because if all the things that you do in preparation towards this were not properly done, then this may have a problem. And when it has a problem, you will see it reflecting in your findings and to reflect in your conclusion. So that is just that for that. I don't know. But like I said, this one, I was doing this one, but I feel let me retain it the way it was. This summary of findings and discussion. I don't know. I think probably we should talk of discussion of results and then to go into the summary of findings if we must retain it in chapter 4. So better we draw the attention of the HOD to it and maybe we may look at it and see how we can prove this. If you have said discussion and summary of findings, probably it may still sound nice, but I don't know better. I will let her know so that we'll look at maybe that needs to be changed. So that's that for today. So any question? Any question, any comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, dear classmates. Ma, I want to find out if this discussion of results, as you would like us to call them for now, can be done per data. What I mean is, I have 9 poems I am analyzing,
Okay.
and for each poem I analyze, there are results that I'll get from there. Can I, after the analysis, maybe discuss or state those results before moving to the next data? Or wait till after all the analysis and just put it at the end?
Okay, you see that is why I try to give examples of some that I have done myself, that you could do thematic discussion. I mean analysis. I remember when I did I think the works I've done actually. What I have done is that I have 6 objectives. So my literature review, my chapter 2 discussion was done, apart from all the justification, whatever, they were actually done based on these 6 thematic areas mainly. Then when I now was also doing my analysis, I also did them under these sections. And that was that. So when I was doing my summary of findings in my chapter 5, okay, I ended up, because like I said, I broke my literature review into chapter 2 into 2. So I ended up having 6 chapters actually. When I was presenting my summary of results in the last chapter, I actually had 6 points based on this thematic view and on the I think what do you call it now, objectives and research questions. So, and that's why I said that maybe this is just a guide, but the procedure needs to explain everything, because that's why I mentioned them. If you have how many poems, or like in the case I was talking about literary texts. Now, if you will wait until you finish, maybe let's say somebody that's in literature, what novels that you want to discuss. Now, except you're able to do them into thematic areas that you are using from each of the novels to say, okay, you are giving samples of the data. It may be difficult to do that. You may have to do like you finish one novel and then go to the other one and discover why it is important. But if what links them is what you are putting together and that's why you are bringing them together, then it may be necessary to do that. And that's why I said that the way these are being presented, let's take it like it's a guide, but then let's also make sure that when you are presenting your data, and that's why I first mentioned that if you put the data first, Then now start say, let me go and do the analysis. Now say, let me go and discuss. It may look systematic. It may also look modeled. So depending on the structure you want to follow. So in this case now, I think as you have poems and you present the poem, the extract, and then you are now discussing and looking at, okay, each aspect, the instrument you are applying to extract that thing and explain it. So of course, at the end, you're able to now say this. But again, I think maybe in this case, you may be able to mix together your what's it called now? Your data here and the analysis, and be able to go at the end. Because the instrument you are using in your case now, I think you are using one, you may be able to come together and integrate them. But then if you think it will be easier for you, what is important is that for each of the aspects you are doing, you need to do all the proper, clear analytical process that we can see everything that you have done clearly, that you are justifying what you have done within the thing. But maybe I will also suggest you may like to go for the thematic procedure instead of doing it like because even if you are doing literary analysis, I think most times they still follow the thematic process. So maybe it may be wiser to do that and group the points together where they come together, except there's no way they are coming together. Now, if you are using face FTA, or you are using what's it called, maybe you can group them together and look at samples of the poem, how they demonstrate that, and then it will be easier for you to discuss in relation to the literature that you are looked at. So I think that's what I will actually want to suggest in this kind of case. So in that case, so sectionalizing them into saying this and that, in that way you can actually integrate the discussion at the end and be able to now look at your summary of findings, how it shall integrate with your objectives and your what's it called now, with your objectives and your research questions. So I think we may be able to do that, because if you want to say, because the way you raise the research question, you are lumping the points together, right?
Yes.
So maybe I think at the prosecution level and summary finding, you may actually need to do that into that section based on that. But the analysis, you may be able to look at the poems and see how they come together. So I think that way you'll be able to actually sectionalize them easily like that.
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what I did, because after the whole thing, I discovered that it was muddled up and I wasn't getting what I actually wanted. So I had to group them into three. Okay,
yeah,
it's okay,
it should be easier for anybody to follow that. To be easier, the important thing about research is that you should be able to be systematic enough for people to follow you and understand and unpack what you are trying to say. So yes, I think that one is very important.
It's okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have any further question on this? Yeah, further questions. Okay, if there are no further questions, I don't know how many minutes we still have left. I hope we're actually following all this one we are saying, people.
Yes, ma'am.
All this,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All this my sacrifice and stressing myself will not be in vain.
At all, it's not in vain.
Please, I get to meet Yama.
Okay. I'm very glad. Fatima, how far have you heard from the HOD?
No, ma. I haven't heard from her.
Okay. So guys, if there's no more question, no comment, and no problem that we need to solve, I guess we can just call it a day, right?
Okay, thank you so much, ma.
Thank you, ma.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.